Starting to get some click-to pins coming in from neighborhoods, and this is where it always gets tricky. You get some, if you got your neighborhood, you know where that one spot is. It always kind of goes early. Be ready for it. This is sent to us from a viewer. They said that's their driveway, and you can see it's starting to fill up on the road there. This was out towards Hidden Valley, about 249, just to the west of I-45. So one of the spots got hit with about 2 inches of rain. So this is what we've seen so far today. Most of it is kind of in these little swaths. It's kind of moved from the south to the north, south to the north. These little trains that work their way through. That's whenever we get into these severe weather potentials, or even when we get into the tropical season. We always talk about where's the train set up, and that's so you can see from just to the east of Rosenberg, slicing up that 290 corridor, where they've picked up about 1 to almost 2 inches, and including this little bullseye just to the west of the airport. Near Cypresswood, they picked up about 2.5 inches. Now, that said, downtown, moving its way down towards Galveston County, nothing so far. So we've got plenty of time. And as we were talking in the commercial break, Laura made a great point. It's been very dry over the past week and a half or so. So we could take a decent amount. Now, that said, this is still a pretty hefty line continuing to push its way up towards the I-10 corridor. And of course, there's that aerial flood advisory that goes until 7:30. So about the next hour or so. Breaks to the west, breaks to the south. That's good. We need all of those. But we're not done just yet, because we've got to get this area of low pressure, this upper low that's just to the south of El Paso. Look at all the snow that's starting to change over into that, and we're getting the wintry precipitation back off to the west. So all of this is going to have to move on through. And it's going to take a good chunk of the day tomorrow for that to happen, because the low hasn't even made it out of northern Mexico yet. So we're not done. And notice we've got winter storm watches and warnings back off to the west. All of the green you see here, as I showed you a second ago, is that flash flood watch that just went into effect. That goes till tomorrow afternoon. So the heaviest rain potential is going to be where that front is. You have the storms that are riding along that line, cold air moving in behind it, the warm air surging out ahead of that, and that's the fuel for some of these storms to slide on through. I expect this to maybe make it down in towards western Harris County, Fort Bend County, and that's where it's going to park it for a good chunk of the night. So that's where those 2 to 4 inch numbers, and even that isolated of 4 to 6 inches comes into play right across that I-40 or the 59 corridor. Now, FUTURECAST wise, as we take it through about 11 o'clock, right at that line, that's where the heaviest rain is starting to sit up. Now, will it be exactly right in this spot? No. There will be some variations, but notice that it does continue through tomorrow morning as that front stalls. The cold air trying to move south, the warm air surging out ahead of that, adding fuel to all these storms. Now, finally, we get this area of low pressure to slide on through. Once this moves in, now notice that's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're still dealing with the potential for some heavy rain. And as we get into about 4 or 5 o'clock, that finally pushes that front out of the forecast. As it does, the cold air moves in behind that. We're going to keep things fairly damp and soggy for our New Year's Eve evening, but it should be on the dry side, certainly better than what we've seen before. So the biggest threat, I think, for the rest of the evening is going to be a straight flood potential. Wind, hail, lightning, some of it out there. We've already had the one tornado warning, but I still think that's on the low side. Most of that heavy rain is going to be exactly where that swath sets up on that front. And you see those numbers anywhere from 2 to 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. But once that's pushing on through, we are done with the rain. A very cold end to 2020 and a sunny start to 2021, with the highs back up in the upper 50s. And in typical South Texas style, we'll be back up into the low 70s as we get in towards next Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have a lot more on this. And of course, Vanessa's up right after the break with sports. Stick around.